Meeting of Development and Government Relations Committee for the City Council. And we are here this evening in City Council chambers. We're also being live streamed on the city's website. We're on Zoom. We're on Channel 15. I'm joined this evening by my committee members, Councilor Vacan, Councilor McGivern, Councilor Bartley. Councilor Jenny Rivera is not able to join us this evening. We also have in the chambers Councilor Rivera, Israel Rivera, and we've got some folks in the audience. So let's get started. We're continuing a public hearing this evening. I'd make a motion to take item 1.
Motion to take item 1 off the table and open up the public hearing.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. So this is for a special permit application for Antonio Rodriguez at 2 Orchard Street to add a second driveway for a school bus to turn around in. And we're joined this evening by our one of our attorneys, Attorney Bissonnette, who gave a little bit of clarification between now and our last meeting a few weeks ago. For those who were in attendance or watching at the last one, there were questions on whether or not we could continue or make a decision on the special permit without having a decision or any weighing in by the planning board. It was actually incorrectly at the time advised to us that we could not. It turns out that we can, as I thought was the case. So good to just get clarification on that. And Attorney Bissonnette did inform us that we can, add or reduce any review requirements. We can put conditions, we can have folks weigh in. And so I just wanted to give an update between the last meeting, which was on November 14th. I personally have done a lot of work just reaching out to various city departments to get some clarification because there were a few questions raised, and I would like the opportunity to convey what has been addressed to me. And then allow fellow councilors, I'm sure, have thoughts. And we do have folks from the public here this evening, so just giving folks a chance for that as well. I have spoken to the city's planner, Jeff Burkott. I have spoken with Attorney Bissonnette. I have spoken with the city engineer, who very graciously offered his time to actually visit the address and actually see what was being proposed. There were some questions on whether or not we actually needed to take the city council special permit route in general, because we weren't actually clear on whether or not this was considered a front yard driveway, understandably. We did not have any kind of drawings before us necessarily, so it was helpful for me to drive out to the address in question and just take a look. And so after discussing with our city engineer, Chris Baker, and discussing with Jeff Burkott, there's a couple of reasons why, and it's outlined in the ordinance itself, which I am very well aware that folks at this table helped draft this ordinance. So the ordinance itself says that a special permit may be allowed where the city council can determine for a front yard driveway within the front yard of a residentially zoned property in special circumstances that hinder the property owner from complying with this regulation. The driveway may be allowed by special permit where the city council determines that the following conditions have been met. The property complies with the front yard landscaped open space requirement of 50% remaining landscaped that was discussed with the city engineer. The proposed driveway is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, and the proposed driveway meets all requirements of the DPW, including curb cut permits, setbacks, and the distance from the intersections. So Chris was very clear with me that if we did move forward with a special permit, the applicant would need to go before DPW to still request a special driveway permit. And the applicant was made aware of that by the city engineer. And the reason why the city engineer believed that this would require a city council special permit is because the property that would be turned into a driveway would not go all the way back as it needs to be to the back of the driveway of the house. It would stop before 50% of the house. It would stop before the fence in the applicant's yard. The purpose of it would be to have a bus turn around, not to park cars. It wouldn't be able to park cars there. So that was why the city engineer explained, like, if the applicant wanted to create an entire driveway that extended to the back of the house all the way through the yard, that would require not a city council special permit, but instead the DPW would have to sign off. And this is what I was explained over the last couple weeks. So I wanted to have the opportunity to explain the work that I've been trying to do internally to come to a solution here. With that, I am going to pause and let everyone chime in. Councilor Bacon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my chiming in will note that the keywords in the ordinance are within the front yard. And that, as I understand it, this driveway or partial driveway is going to be on the side of the house, not the front of the house. So therefore, I would respectfully submit that these folks should not have to be before us. They should not have had to pay a special permit fee. And I think they should be able to get their money back and just go through the application route that's on our website and go to the engineer for the curb cuts if they meet all the other requirements, which I personally know nothing about. I don't even know if a driveway, a half a driveway or anything can even fit there. And it's never been before us when it's not a front driveway. So that would be respectfully my input relative to this special permit. I don't think they need to be here,
Okay, thank you.
but
Yeah.
I'll defer to
Yeah.
others, but that's a clear reading of the ordinance in my work when we passed the ordinance, so.
Yeah. Councilor Bart?
Yeah, I'll say this, that I've been by the house now a couple times. I've looked at the setup of the house and how this is me facing the house, there's a driveway on the left-hand side, and there's a fence that restricts the driveway on the left-hand side. That same fence is on the right-hand side of the house. And so if it's their intention to build a driveway on the right-hand side of the house, going all the way back, I think they're gonna have to remove that fence. But I'm of the same opinion as Linda, that if we can just send them, give this leave to withdraw, close a public hearing, give this leave to withdraw, and refer this over to the Board of Public Works to have its process done, I don't have a problem with that.
So, thank you. And I do agree with both points. I will, just to clarify, my understanding from the applicant was that it wouldn't go all the way back. It would go to before the fence. So if you've driven by and you see where the fence is, it would go to up until the actual fence so that they wouldn't remove the fence. That was my understanding.
Well, let me ask another.
Yeah, absolutely.
question. So if they don't want, the point is to make it safe for the children to be
Correct.
picked up. If the fence, where it is right now on the left-hand side, is not sufficient, how does the chair tell me that if this is granted and the fence is in the exact same place relative to the road, how would that make it sufficient?
Great question. I had the same question that I talked to the city engineer about when we were visiting the site. The difference is that to the right of the fence without a driveway, right?
The right side of the house.
Right side of the house, there is already a driveway for the resident who abuts the property.
Yes.
And because of that, there are not cars that are parking to block the bus from turning. If that makes sense. So the engineer said this could work better on this side because there's less parking.
And that's why they should do it, because it's not us.
I understand, but the city engineer's point was that if the driveway were to go all the way to the back, then it's definitely not us. And I'm just conveying what was explained. I don't want to make this more difficult for anyone either. I'm not trying to. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood what the applicant's plans were. And I'm willing to allow Councilor McGivern to speak.
Thanks.
Yeah.
If I heard you correctly, Madam Chair, you said that even if the city council passed this permit,
Yep.
they would still need to get the curb cut from the DPW?
Correct.
So this permit means nothing.
Okay.
I mean, that's the answer right there. Because a special permit for the front of a house would be the only vote, the only, allowing the a petitioner to do a driveway that they would need. They would not need a curb cut because the special permit would replace the curb cut. The DPW does curb cuts, and with all due respect to the petitioner, how this ever got in front of us is beyond me, because the original maker of the order for front-way driveways was Councilor Ray Fair. And when there was a couple duplexes on Northampton Street, if you notice they went up, the front yard became a parking lot. And he said, that's not right anywhere in the city, but that's definitely not right on Route 5. And he said, if they're gonna if there's a hardship, there's a reason that the driveway has to be in front of the house. It needs to be by special permit. And that was my understanding of the ordinance. I can show you hundreds of driveways where the driveway goes halfway, on the side of the house, and that's it, because there is no further to go. And you'll see many houses in this area, Ward 4, where there's actually a garage that's halfway, not behind the house, but halfway, for the length of the house itself. And what I don't understand is, and I have a lot of respect for the reason for the school bus and the understanding of why this particular student, this child, needs the door-to-door, and that is a school department issue, and it sounds like they're not doing their job, because it should not be the petitioner, the parent, that is trying to get away for a bus to turn around. It should be the bus company and the school department that can figure that out. And a good driver that knows how to back down that street would solve that problem real quick.
Yes. Okay. Any other comments?
I just want to clarify something.
Yeah.
And this might be for, you may not know the answer, and Mike's here, so I don't think we can suspend rules, have Mike speak, but if we're going to do what I think we're going to do, which is to give this leave to withdraw and recommend that the petitioner's monies are reimbursed, and refer this to the Board of Public Works, that meeting with the Board of Public Works, is that a public hearing?
When I talked to the city engineer, it didn't sound like it was, but I would defer to Attorney Bissonnette if you would like to weigh in. The question was, if we did refer this to the Board of Public Works, is that going to be part of a public hearing process as well?
I believe for driveways and curb cuts, that's a permit signed by the DPW director,
Okay.
similar to a building permit issued by the building commissioner, electrical permit, plumbing permits, et cetera. So that's my understanding. If it has to go for for some reason, then that would be a public meeting on the agenda and posted.
Okay. Did you get that?
No, so Mike, you kind of froze up on for halfway through that, but is this, Mike, just the process, just through the chair to the law department, Mike, because I really don't know the answer, although I thought I did, but the process of getting a curb cut, does that require a vote of the Board of Public Works, or is that just a decision signed off by the city engineer?
It's signed off by the city engineer, David. I haven't seen I've followed most of the Board of Public Works meetings in the last, I haven't seen that, and I know curb cuts and this has been done, so,
You're still,
Breaking up.
you're frozen.
Yeah, Mike, it's,
I think,
I know I'm not really having a stroke.
it's okay, Mike, don't worry about
It
it.
sounds that way.
I think you said that the city engineer usually signs off on it. Oh, all right.
That's cool.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what we heard.
Great.
Right.
Great.
Okay, so I would like to offer a motion that we close the public hearing and refer the petitioner.
Well, just,
I was gonna say, we are still in a public hearing, and there are folks in the,
With the public.
just in
They
case
wish to
anyone
speak.
anyone
Sure.
else, is there anyone else this evening, either in person or on Zoom, that would like to speak? I don't see any on Zoom, so I'm looking to the audience.
Maybe have any questions? Or
Great. If you want to come to the microphone,
Sorry for jumping the gun.
no, it's okay. And just state your name and your address, please.
Antonio Rodriguez, 2 Orchard Street. I'm just confused as you guys are, because when I first came in here to the city clerk, they told me I have to go through this process because a second driveway or a front yard driveway have to come here. And I explained them, it's a side driveway. I went to the city engineer. I'm still being sent here to you guys.
Yeah.
So since we put it to now, we're talking 3 months. We're still in the process. I get you guys' point about a good driver. I tried this over months. I filed with the school district over months to the point that the school district wrote the letter that it will be beneficial. So it's not that the homework haven't been done. At the beginning, they was picking up the kids in front of the house, but due to the neighbors' complaints or concerns about the beeping at 7 o'clock in the morning, then they suspend the transportation, and then they start saying it's not safe to turn around. We need all the space to turn around because we cannot turn around down there in front of the neighbor houses, and it's no more space to do it. You guys saw when we did the demonstration on using the actual driveway was not suitable because the car that parked on that side or on this side versus doing it on the right side is plenty of space for coming in and out because the other thing on the side of the house is another driveway, so nobody parking there. So we just confused, and I don't know where we're gonna head with this.
So, thank you. Appreciate you being here. And, just for what it's worth, I've been on this committee for 12 months now. And I think this isn't the first time we've had a special permit come to us that maybe we shouldn't have had. And I think internally, I think we can do better. And I'm willing to, help however that is. And so I just want to, thank you for your time. And I do think that just based on all of our conversations and what we have been discussing, I think that it would be the next step is to reconnect with Chris, the city engineer, and I'm happy to stay in contact as your contact just to make sure things move along. And Councilor Bacon?
Yeah, and I would just like to add that I think you should be reimbursed for the special permit fee because I think that was perhaps a misunderstanding on the part of the person that made that statement. So I do think that we could make that part of our
For sure.
recommendation.
Councilor McGivern?
if I could, because Antonio said something that I questioned. I'm not sure if Attorney Bissonnette can respond, but Mike, we've been dealing with what we thought was a front yard driveway, which special permits we understand by ordinance. The petitioner, Antonio, just said something about the city clerk saying it's a second driveway. Is there such a thing as a special permit for a second driveway?
No. The provisions in the zoning ordinance for the front yards, I guess we'll call it the fair rule, is an exception to the rule about single-family or two-family households. The requirement under the parking regs is 2 spots per unit for single families and two families. This is a two-family, so the 4 spots would be laid out in the driveway to the left of the premises. That would be it. There is no exception because there's no hardship here. And it's going to be, I think, difficult to sustain the case that this is needed for parking as parking. It's pretty clear, we can all agree that it's good reason, but I'm not sure that, and I think maybe one of the reasons planning didn't want to get too involved is it really is a gray area. This would be a second driveway. There's no question about it. Although the intent is not to park on the lots, is on the driveway or the paved portion. As I understand, it's for a bus turnaround. The other issue I think that and I'll take this up with Chris, who can be granted a curb cut permit? My understanding is only the owner of the property can petition and seek a curb cut permit. In other words, I couldn't go to your house and say, hey, this looks like a good spot for a curb cut. So that's another issue, if I understand the ownership situation correctly. That's another issue for this particular situation. So I'll talk to Chris Baker in the morning, but I think we have a problem with the idea of this bus turnaround substituting as a driveway when there's already a driveway in existence. I think a close reading of the ordinance would say that's only for an alternative if a regular driveway can't be put in.
So, to your knowledge, there's no such thing as a special permit for a second driveway that the city council would issue. We dealt with one in Ward 3, but my remembering that a memory was it had to deal with the corner lot, and the second driveway was on the side of the house, which doesn't have frontage or meet the criteria, which is different than just being a second driveway. This is obviously a second driveway proposed in the frontage of the parcel itself. I'm fine, but
And that's my point.
as far as once we close
And
the
the
public,
other,
before we close the public hearing, it's the petitioner who would have the option, if they so see fit, to withdraw the application, not the city council.
Okay.
I would prefer it was withdrawn as opposed to voting it down, but it sounds like we were just told it's not legal, shouldn't be in front of us, and we don't have much choice.
Right. Councilor Bartley.
Just one other small point. Just if we, again, we're very aware of the need for a safe pickup and drop off. Okay, so we're not. I don't think anybody's saying otherwise, but I just need to clarify that. Just on again, I'm facing the house. On the right side of the house, and this is for anybody, whether it's a chair or for Joe or for Linda or for Mike. It's so close to that other driveway, which is so. If you install a new driveway in the right side of the house, does that trigger some kind of a setback issue? Because that would put the driveway within,
Yeah.
I mean, within just a few feet
So
of the
yeah,
current driveway.
that was what Chris was measuring out. There is enough room to comply, according to Chris, if as long as it was meeting the 18 feet requirement. And so Chris did agree that there was enough room in between the driveway. Yeah, so it's definitely an option. So I mean, okay, so Councilor McGivern made the point that the applicant, it would be great if the applicant withdrew, but the alternative is that we can vote it down, or
And you know, if the applicant wants to withdraw, you know, we certainly will ask the city clerk to refund the city to refund the money, the application fee.
Right. So just to clarify through the chair to the applicant, that if the applicant did choose to withdraw, it doesn't endanger the ability to get your money back, because if you do it that way, you're doing it because it was a mistake in terms of understanding the process, so it wouldn't endanger you from pursuing the money back.
It's not your mistake, Antonio. It's a mistake that
Right.
was made.
So it wouldn't be like you were saying you did anything incorrect.
yeah, it would
So-
still, the money would be able to be refunded, and you know, it sounds like Chris and Attorney Bissonnette are going to connect tomorrow, and that route would need to be taken. And again, I can also, you know, touch base with Chris, but I also want to just pause for a minute. Check. I don't see anyone online raising their hands. Anyone else? One more time.
And the power.
Here?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I guess we can go ahead and close the public hearing,
Well,
and then the petitioner can still decide what he wants to do after we close the public hearing.
okay.
So I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now, through the chair, what is the pleasure of the petitioner? Would you have us take an action, or would you wish?
Yeah, do you want us to, you would have to speak into the microphone, just for folks online to hear.
This has been a complicated journey, right? And I've had spoke with my attorneys about the safety of the situation and the city not complying with what they should, which is not the city council, don't get me wrong. It's a city problem. And if you guys want to vote it down, that's fine with me, even though I lose my money, because if I withdraw it, it's not that I didn't get the permit, it's that I withdraw the application, and then it's not the city issue because I withdraw the application.
Well, you would still have the opportunity to apply for the correct permit through the Department of Public Works, through Chris, the engineer. Is that
The curb cut.
for the curb cut, to still do the,
Right, and between legal and them, that's a whole different criteria than what we do. That's,
and that my understanding from Attorney Bissonnette is that this is not a special permit that we can issue for this, because it doesn't comply with what the project is. So the fact that you were asked to apply for this special permit was incorrect, and instead should be a permit that is applied through the DPW, through Chris and the engineer directly. So us either withdrawing the application, or us, now that we've closed the public hearing, if you withdraw it, it's not that you wouldn't get a permit necessarily. It's just that you have to apply for the permit through a different channel. Am I explaining that correctly?
if I,
You sure, Linda?
so
Councilor Bacon?
I think through the chair, what I hear you saying is you want it clear that you applied for what you need to resolve the safety concern that you have. And in whichever way we answer this, if you withdraw it or if you don't, we can still say that we, as the committee of the whole, recommend to the clerk that they reimburse you for the special permit fee, regardless of which way we do it. So if you want it to stand and we just make the finding based on legal that we can't act on it, and, so we won't, we will still request that they reimburse the special permit fee.
I think it will work for both parties. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. There was a motion,
So,
or was there not? We paused that.
well, I am hearing the applicant say he doesn't really want to withdraw
Okay.
the application, if I understood him correctly. Is
Motion,
that,
motion to deny.
Is there a
and
second?
I'll second it. And I want it just clear in the record that we're denying it because we can't decide it. We're not denying it on the merits of the presentation.
Okay.
I think that should be clear because
Okay.
it's a technical
Sure.
denial, if you will.
So we had a
If
second.
we could, we'd do the finance trick and send it back to the clerk.
That's what I was thinking.
Can we do that?
I don't think we have a choice here because if it's not
Yeah.
appropriately in front of us,
We
it's
have
not
to
our
s-
purview.
we have to
How
say
can we
no.
vote in favor or against?
Yeah.
Right.
We
So I
can't
mean,
withdraw it, but I think we can return it.
Return it to the
If-
clerk
return
and
or send it to
reimburse.
DPW, who has the true authority here.
yeah. If we
Counselor
legally
Counselor,
can return it and direct it to
Yeah.
the, DPW.
Okay,
prefer
all right.
to Do that.
Does that work?
So return to the city clerk and
And,
refer to the DPW.
Can we do
for
that?
action.
yeah?
Yeah.
That way, your petition's still alive, and the DPW gets to weigh in.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was a yes, Attorney Bissonnette?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You're breaking up, so it's a little.
We just wanted to make
Okay.
sure.
So then I'll offer an amendment to the motion that we refer this special permit application back to the clerk and to be referred to DPW and the city engineer for further action.
We have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Great. Thank you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.